Do you feel it's hard to communicate with your team? As a project manager, do you think it's hard to communicate with software developers sometimes? Do you feel your team could be much more effective? As a team member, do you feel sometimes that the project manager or the team leader is not really listening? Do you struggle with estimations? These questions and much more could be because in your project or in the project teams, there is a lack of trust. I've been struggling with this many years, um, and I want to share some things with you. Let's get started. Welcome to Lead with People, this podcast. Today I'm diving into a topic that every project manager faces: building trust with your team. No matter what methodology you are using, agile, waterfall, or anything in between, I believe a successful project starts with trust. When you are a new project manager, what's the best way to build trust right from day one? In this episode, I will share a few steps that have worked for me. But let's start with a story. I will share with you a story that later I will explain what we can learn from this. So the story goes, Jack and the dog, and this is a real story that happened to me. Jack was an incredibly skilled software engineer, is an incredible software engineer, but I'm not working with him now for today. He was a very introvert and barely spoke any words. He had no family, no social circle, just him and his computer. Jack was part of the team, kind of part of a team, sort of, because I'm going to dive into what a definition of a team is. But by the right definition, he was not really part of a team, but Jack's name was in a list among a team, and then he had a team leader. I was a new project manager. One day we decided that we need to work on weekends to build this upcoming delivery deadline to meet it, really. There were simply too many tasks left to be completed. Usually we would just ask the team who was willing to join for the weekend work, and those who wanted, just they could show up in Saturday or Sunday or both days. But in this case, no one had asked Jack. When I asked why, they told me Jack always says no, especially to weekend work. And honestly, no one I think no one had felt comfortable asking him. I decided to ask him myself. I remember the team wished me good luck, and I went and knocked on his door. I said hi. He was deeply focused on his computer. I noticed a picture of a dog on his desk. So I asked, "Is that your dog?" He paused and said, "No." I was still curious, so I asked, "Whose dog is it?" He told me a story. And remember, he barely speaks a word. And suddenly, he tells me the story that changed my perspective completely. Jack explained that while traveling through a strange country, I don't remember the name, on a bike, he found an abandoned dog. As he rode along the countryside, the dog followed him, and he tried to signal to the dog to not follow him, but the dog kept following him. When Jack stopped, the dog stopped. And eventually, Jack took the dog on his bike. That evening, when he stopped in a kind of a bed and breakfast, the dog followed him into the room and jumped onto his bed. Now, he just checked in for this room. Jack was so touched by the dog's trust that he couldn't bear to disturb it. So he decided to sleep on the floor, letting the dog rest on the bed. The day after, Jack left the dog where he found it and took that picture. The first thing Jack did when he arrived back home, he printed out that picture on his desk. It was a beautiful and humbling story. I could see Jack was emotional when he was just telling the story. And I thanked him. I said, "Thank you for sharing this beautiful story with me." "So this is your friend?" I asked. He said, "Yes," looking at the picture. Now, we are not talking about project plans here, nor are we talking about upcoming work in the weekend. We are talking about a relationship between a man and a dog. I remember as I was just leaving his office, like in the doorsteps, Jack surprised me by asking, "What time are we starting on the weekend?" I told him 9 a.m. Saturday. And sure enough, at 9 that Saturday, the entire team showed up, and Jack was there too. From that day, Jack became a true member of the team. His story not only revealed his compassionate side, but also helped me see the value of understanding people beyond their own work. So what does this teach us? The human connections matter. When you focus on people, you're saying, "I see you," rather than "I see a task list" or something. So spending time with each other and asking open questions to learn about the team members' goals, strengths, concerns. This personal approach helps. It helped me to understand the person behind the role. And as I have learned, showing genuine interest builds a foundation of trust that is far more valuable than any task scheduled. So you see, sometimes it's the smallest moments that matter. By showing genuine interest in who Jack was outside of work, I earned his trust, and in return he began to trust me as a leader. That connection allowed us to work together better, and it became a reminder for me how essential it is to see the human side of people we lead. So let's imagine it's your first day as a project manager, team leader, or any leading position for new teams. What are your first actions? People do different things. I did different things. Some leaders jump into technical issues, others start planning every small thing, or you want to know about the company's vision and mission, strategies ahead, priorities, name it. None of those actions are really wrong to start with. I used to start spending a lot of time diving into company's vision, project plans. I thought it was crucial to understand every part of the project and the company's long-term goals. While this is important, I learned that spending too much time on these aspects can actually slow me down. One time I started as a new product owner. I really wanted to make a big impact, so I spent a lot of time creating new plans for one team. Strategy, timelines, roadmaps, beautiful PowerPoints. And I thought I needed to show them that I had everything figured out. But after a few weeks, I realized something, that the team didn't really need my plans. They wanted something else. They had their own plans. They really needed some support, and they were already doing the right thing. They wanted me to help them with the prioritization and remove some obstacles they had. I learned that sometimes as a product owner, project manager, as a leader, is not about making new plans, but it's about trusting the team, listening to them and helping them succeed. So I would spend too much time planning and not enough time understanding what the team actually needed from me. That's what I did from start. Lessons, plans are important, yes. But trust and support are even more important. Your team need to be heard before they feel led. Ask questions. What's wrong? What's going well? What is the biggest problems we have? And don't stop just listening. As leaders, we need to pay attention and follow up, really. Start with listening and not telling. So what has always worked for me as a new leader in a project is prioritizing people as my first action. Another point is to build trust is transparency. Transparency is very important. I started doing this lately in the project, and I saw the impact of that when starting a new team. I always started to share my goals, intentions, but even more importantly, I started to share my limitations. If there is an area that I'm not an expert on, I don't know so much on, I was open about it from day one. So being real with the team shows that the value of honesty. That sets a standard for them to be open as well. So as a project manager, your team's expertise is really your greatest asset. I try to empower them by giving ownership over their work and trusting their skills. Trusting their skills, that's very important. If I've learned anything, it's that trust goes both ways. So one of the best ways to show trust is by letting the team take charge of the details they know best of, better than you. This autonomy is empowering and reinforces their trust in you as a leader. So building trust in a team isn't like an easy process. It could take time, actually. But by focusing on people first, being transparent, and staying present, you can build a solid foundation. And these genuine connections, like Jack and the dog, these genuine connections that is really needed to build trust. I hope you found these insights useful. Whether you are a new manager or just looking to build trust with a new team, thanks for listening. Listening to this podcast, Lead with People. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow and tune in for more stories and tips on creating genuine connections in leadership. Thank you.